Good evening. Welcome to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, October 19th. We'll begin with the salute to the flag. To the Republic,
which stands
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Mr. Rocco, can you call the roll?
Yes. Brian Galloway.
Here.
Jeff Brasky.
Here.
Jeff Dents.
Here.
John Palmer.
Here.
And I'm here.
All right. Still virtual here in October. Thought for sure we'd be back to normal by now, but I'm not sure what normal is anymore. So not much on the agenda tonight, but item number one is public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment, Alex?
No, we have no public comment.
No public comment. That's a first. All right. Item number two is Truck Smart, preliminary and final land development. Mr. Jones, you want to take this one?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. JR 19 LLC Truck Smart is a preliminary and final land development consideration before the board. They received Planning Commission approval a couple of months ago. It's for a building addition, I believe, on the order of 8,000 square feet to their facility down by the extra space storage. And I believe tonight, Mr. Frank Dillon and John Robertson from DUMAC are representing the applicant.
I received a text from the engineer. They were having some problem getting into the meeting, so there might be a little bit of a delay here.
All right.
One second, I'm bringing him in. One second. They're not in. Can we move to, they're not in yet.
You want to wait, or should we move to number three? Or they might not be ready yet either, I guess.
The Truck Smart application, gentleman, is in. 1 second. Mr. Dillon is in the room.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I know the engineer's trying to get in. John Richardson is, we've dialed in and it's
I'm getting in right now.
Good evening, gentlemen. The engineer's trying to get in. John Richardson is, we've dialed in and it's,
I'm getting in right now. Mr.
We're
Richardson.
getting a lot of feedback.
Mr. Richardson's in the meeting.
and Rick McLaughlin is trying to get in also. The engineer's trying to get in. John Richardson is, we've dialed in and it's,
I don't see Mr. McLaughlin. Mr. Richardson's in the meeting.
and
Is somebody watching this on TV while they're trying to talk, Mr. Dillon?
yes,
You need to turn it off because it's not going to work because we can hear the feedback.
shut the computer off. Okay. It's shut off.
Mr. Dillon, is your team,
Are you
your
there?
team now?
Are you there?
We're here and ready for you.
Okay. I've been provided a resolution. I've reviewed the letters provided, the engineer's review letter. the traffic engineer and the fire marshal. I've talked to the fire marshal. He had no issues. I've talked to Mr. Jones and discussed items that I thought might be an issue. He's told me I don't need a waiver for the traffic study. And given that, we've presented this to the planning commission and we've gotten the variances. We've presented with a resolution. It was supposed to be delivered today with the plans. I hope it has been. I got an email from Mr. Jones and told him I thought it had been delivered.
You have anything to add, Mr. Jones?
I believe the township does have the signed resolution, Mr. Dillon.
That's correct.
Okay.
So why don't you explain exactly what we're looking at?
We're looking at a proposed addition to the property. I think you're all familiar with the property. John, you're there. Why don't you explain it to him?
Sure. The property is a 3.3 acre lot off of Business Route 1, and it's currently being utilized by TruckSmart, which they sell commercial type vehicles and also do repairs and rentals. And they're looking to expand the facility towards the rear with a 5,000 square foot addition, 1 story. And it would allow them to better handle repairs. My understanding is that the addition would have numerous overhead doors where the vehicles would be able to drive in, and repair type work would occur in the addition in the rear. The lot was subdivided, I believe, about a decade ago, maybe a little less, and the addition kind of parallels the subdivided lot line in the rear. As part of the development, we're going to be doing some buffer plantings in the rear to buffer the addition from the residential lot that are behind the existing facility. The parking has been an issue kind of since we were at the planning commission. We're utilizing the lot that is in question and also some parking that is on the neighboring lot that the applicant owns to meet our parking requirement. Is there any questions?
You're on mute. Mr. Dent, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Any questions, Mr. Rocco?
No, any issues, Mr. Jones?
No, sir, there are no issues. We work with the applicant. Actually, I misspoke. When the planning commission saw this was in January, so the plan's been before us from a technical perspective multiple times, and at this point, we're comfortable with the plans as they are.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions. Thank you.
Mr. Galloway?
No question.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, the only question I had was in the back there on the residential properties. They did address that from what he just told me, so I'm fine. Thank you.
Right. And I have no question. And this is done by resolution. Is there any public comment needed, Alex? Do we have anybody for public comment? Hello, Alex?
No public comment, Jeff. No public comment.
All right. And we're doing this by resolution. What number would this be, Mr. Nikita?
It's resolution number 2020-31.
31. Amazing. All right. Is there a motion?
I so move.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All right. Congratulations. Good luck with your addition.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay,
Have a good night.
You too. Item number 3. KA at Fairless Hills LP minor subdivision, 500 Lincoln Highway. This is the one we advertised last month, I believe. This is the old Pathmark, correct, by Funzilla there, that shopping center? Mr. Jones, is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
And they're basically just rezoning it from a portion of it to highway commercial, correct? Mr.
That's
Clark?
correct. And they also have before you tonight, request for approval of a minor subdivision to carve out the 2 acre plus or minus parcel that will be rezoned to HC. That's correct.
And we're looking at the subdivision now, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
you can, item 3 and item 4 are together. So you can, I know that the applicant is here with the applicant's attorney, so they can address both, but you'll need to vote on them separately.
Is the applicant ready, Mr. Alex?
Yes, we'll bring them in now.
Oh,
The applicant's in the room.
all right, we're good.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Julie Von Spreckelson from the law firm of Eastburn and Gray here tonight on behalf of the applicant KA at Fairless Hills LP, which is the legal owner of the property located at 500 Lincoln Highway. We are before you tonight with regard to the minor subdivision plan first for that property. And I just want to introduce who's in the room with me. To my far left is Mark Kessler. He's here on behalf of the applicant. And then to my immediate left is Justin Giannotti. He is the project engineer from Dynamic Engineering. Also on the phone, hopefully on Zoom, is Mike Riddell. He is a real estate engineer for Wawa, and he's also managing this project for Wawa Inc. So just to start you out, I did send to the township, we provided, in addition to our subdivision plan, we've provided a PowerPoint. I'm not sure if you have it. You can reference it. We can also share a screen, whatever is your preference. I was just going to give a brief overview of the existing conditions and then jump right into what we're proposing in terms of our subdivision.
I don't think it's necessary. I think if we just jump to the subdivision part, everybody's familiar with the property, I believe. Is that correct? Is anybody opposed to that?
Sure. That's correct.
Okay, that's great. So the property is 15.3 acres and is zoned SC Shopping Center Commercial District. There are 2 buildings located on the property, a 188,458 square foot shopping center and a 6,020 square foot standalone restaurant in the parking area, which is located near the corner and intersection of Arlene's Avenue and Lincoln Highway. These are old buildings. They've been there for decades, for over 50 years. The site itself, same thing. It's been developed for decades and decades. So it's mostly asphalt as it exists today. There's some parking, some lighting, very little bit of landscaping as it is in its current form. As I discussed with the board last month, you may recall, I went into a little bit of the background just to show the reason that we are proceeding the way we're proceeding with this development. The applicant purchased the property in 2014 and immediately, almost thereafter, Pathmark filed for bankruptcy and vacated the center. And then shortly thereafter, 2 additional tenants, Family Dollar and Tuesday Morning, also vacated their tenancies. And despite applicant making some physical improvements to the property and aggressively marketing the property for retail tenants, still there's 60,000 square feet of vacant space. And even to get the Pathmark tenancy filled, that was with not a retail use, but a entertainment use, Funzilla, and that took 3 years to fill. So unfortunately, as you know, these types of vacancies are prevalent in the retail industry. For shopping centers, brick and mortar stores, they're either filing bankruptcies or they're trying to repurpose because of online shopping and the proliferation of e-commerce. So that's what we're proposing here. We're trying to repurpose this center, and that, coupled with the pandemic as well, is the other reason for trying to repurpose this center. So in order to try to boost and maintain the viability of the shopping center, what we're proposing is the subdivision of the property. It would be a 2.036 acre subdivision of the existing 15.3 acres, and that 2 acre plus subdivision is located at the corner of Arlene's and Lincoln Highway. The standalone restaurant building will be demolished and the restaurant will be relocated into the shopping center building. And our end goal at the very end, if we're fortunate enough to proceed forward, is to develop the property at the corner of Arlene's, the subdivided parcel at the corner of Arlene's and Lincoln Highway with a 5,585 square foot Wawa convenience store with 8 multi-product dispensing facilities. And that, again, would be on the subdivided lot. We'll also be able to enhance the area with some more green area, make it a little bit more greener, and then also to add some stormwater management, because again, this has been existing for decades and there really isn't any on the site today. So there's a number of procedural steps we have to take to move this forward to get to our proposed end result. And we did meet with township staff and consultants, and we went through the project with them. And then shortly thereafter, we filed the subdivision plan that's before you for review. We submitted that to the township along with our rezoning request to rezone that parcel that we're creating from SC Shopping Center Commercial District to HC Highway Commercial District. And after we submitted the subdivision and rezoning applications, we did receive the township engineer's review letter, and that was dated August 14th, 2020, which comments are all will comply responses, except for the comments that we know we need to seek zoning relief for. So we know that would be the next step if we're fortunate to move forward this evening. We would then have to go to the zoning hearing board and also obtain zoning relief. Before then, even after that, if we're successful there, then we would have to move on and come back for land development and conditional use. So there's numerous steps. This is the first step. It's the minor subdivision. The township traffic engineer, his letter, no comments at all with regard to our subdivision, and the Township Shade Tree Commission, they had 2 comments, and both of those are will comply as we move forward into, hopefully down the road, into land development. So we reviewed all of this with the Planning Commission at their meeting in August, on August 25th, and the Planning Commission actually had 2 excellent recommendations. The first was that when we get to the end result, what they wanted was the building footprint for the Wawa. They wanted to move it 10 feet closer to the shopping center, so it's out of the front yard setback. We have 2 front yard setbacks because of Arlene's, because we're on the corner of Arlene's and Lincoln. So they wanted to make sure that building was going to be out of that setback. And then in addition, they wanted a portion of the subdivided parcel boundary to be closed. Initially, we had it open as it abuts the shopping center, but they wanted a portion of it closed so that there wouldn't be cross traffic. So we agreed to do that and actually have a landscaped area, some more green area for it. So we incorporated those 2 recommendations. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of both the minor subdivision plan along with the grant of the waivers that we're requesting, and then also with regard to the rezoning of the subdivided parcel from SC to HC. So we did revise the subdivision plan to incorporate the Planning Commission's comments. We resubmitted to the township that revised subdivision plan. It was again reviewed by your township engineer, and he issued his second review letter on October 8th, 2020. It's virtually identical to the other, his first review. So again, it's all will comply responses other than for what we need zoning relief for, if we're fortunate to move forward. So there are 5 waivers. They are outlined in the resolution of approval that we did receive and we reviewed, and we actually had the applicant sign and return to the township. So that is in the hands of the township. I can go through the 5 waivers if you would like, but they are contained in the resolution. And with that, if you have any questions, we're here to answer them. If not, we would respectfully request grant of the minor subdivision plan approval and the 5 waivers.
All right, so the short end of this long story is that we're basically subdividing this so they can build a Wawa on the corner. They've been through planning. They're going to follow the planning's recommendations. They still need zoning relief. They would still have to come back to the township for final approval and stuff. So all we would be doing tonight is the subdivision. Any questions from board members? Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Mr. Boraski?
I have none, thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
I have none.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Is there any public comment needed?
There's no public comment.
Okay. We have a resolution number 2020-32. Is that correct, Mr. Takita?
That's correct.
All right. Is there a motion?
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So your property's been subdivided. That was easy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is the ordinance to amend the Falls Township zoning map to be zoned, what's that? A portion of the property located at 500 Lincoln Highway. So what we're basically doing is rezoning the part that we subdivided from shopping center to highway commercial. Correct, Mr. Clark?
That is correct.
All right, this doesn't get any more straightforward. Any questions from board members? Mr. Rocco?
None.
Mr.
I
Boraski?
see. Mike, Mr. Clark,
Yes.
do we need to open the hearing on this since it's a hearing technically?
It is an ordinance amendment, so you do have to open the hearing. And then briefly.
And put in all these.
Yeah, and Ms. Von Spreckelsen will admit, and thank you for pointing that out to me. And Ms. Von Spreckelsen will put in whatever evidence or exhibit she would like. And then if there's any public comment, then you'll close the hearing and then vote.
Is there a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then, sorry. And then I would just ask that all the township records in terms of the notice, the legal notice was published 2 times. Mike, do you have those publication dates just so we have them
We
available?
do.
I just want to make sure.
Yep, we do have all of those. So we have the legal ad, which will be made part of the record. It was published in the Courier Times the first time on October 5th, and then the second time on October 12th.
And I believe the property was also posted and notice was.
Correct.
And those will be made part of the record as well?
They will indeed.
Wonderful, thank you. As will our rezoning application and plans and our proposed rezoning ordinance map amendment, correct?
Yep, exactly.
And then the PowerPoint that I also submitted, I'd like to incorporate that as well, just so everything's in the record together.
That would be fine.
Okay, great. So just real quick, real briefly, since you're very well aware of this, for brevity's sake, I'm not going to go through everything again. I just want to make 2 important points with regard to this rezoning. First, what we included in our PowerPoint was the zoning map. And the zoning map, we highlighted all the properties that are already zoned HC along the Lincoln Highway corridor. So it's a commercial corridor. There's numerous properties zoned HC. We've highlighted it on the zoning map to show that this potential rezoning that you're considering is consistent. It's consistent, it's good planning, it's consistent with the neighborhood, it's consistent with the commercial corridor on Lincoln Highway. That's the first point. And then Mr. Jones had also pointed that out in his review letter as well, that it is consistent and that there are numerous properties zoned HC along this corridor. So it's certainly not spot zoning. It's in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. The second thing I would point out is that we're going from commercial to commercial. And the shopping center district, which it's zoned now, has many commercial uses, and they're virtually identical to the highway commercial. So it's very similar zoning in that respect. It's not that we're going from residential to commercial or anything to that extreme. It's commercial to commercial. So we feel that it's certainly in good planning. It keeps, in good planning, and it's appropriate with the characteristics of the neighborhood. And Mr. Jones points that out in his letter as well. And those are the 2 important points I'd like to point out. And with that, I would just respectfully request that the rezoning be granted.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it. Just ask for questions from the board or the public.
Alex?
We have no public comment.
All right, is there any board comment needed? Mr. Rocco?
No.
Mr. Boraski?
Nope.
Palmer?
No, straightforward.
Mr. Galloway?
No comment, no questions.
All right, so what's our next step, Clark? Close the meeting or close the
Close
hearing?
the hearing and then vote to adopt the ordinance.
Is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Is there a motion for the approved resolution number 2020-32?
This would be an ordinance,
No, this is the ordinance.
Ordinance.
ordinance number 2020-3.
I'm sorry.
I make the motion to approve that ordinance.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. That was easy. Again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you
your
very
time
much.
this evening.
Have a good night.
Aye.
Good night.
Item number 5 is a scratch. Mr. Clark dropped the ball on this one and didn't advertise. So that'll be on our November agenda. This is the traffic parking regulations on Woolston Drive. The police chief did make an emergency motion to prohibit parking, which is good for 90 days, so you still can't park there, but we will make it official next month. That takes us to item number 6, minutes from September 21st. Any corrections, questions on the minutes from board members?
I have none.
Excellent minutes as always, Mrs. Pullen.
Yep.
Virtual. All right, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 7. You're up, Jonesy. Engineers report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The engineer's report for the month of September shows that we've had 3 new land development applications submitted, 1 earth disturbance, no cell towers, and no floodplain permit applications. Briefly, the land developments are Kinder Morgan. It's a minor building addition down at the port facility just for equipment and mechanical operations. Something called Galvanize is a property in the KIPC. That's a minor subdivision to carve out a parcel of land so that U.S. Steel can maintain that property. The other one is called Bum Holdings LLC. That's located on Old Oxford Valley Road, and that is for a paved parking lot. It's a redevelopment of a residential site to be a paved parking lot with a small building. The earth disturbance is a residential pool, typical in the course of action. Updates are identified in red as usual. I will just point out a couple of them. The Kinder Morgan project will be before the board in November for waiver of land development approval. The galvanizing subdivision and the Bum Holdings LLC will both be before the planning commission next week. There are no notable updates for the earth disturbances. And in terms of the ongoing township projects, I'll mention that the docks at the Quaker Penn Park have been scheduled for removal on November 7th. Of course, we'll continue to monitor the weather. And if it appears that we're going to have a mild November, we might leave them on longer. There are some repairs that are scheduled for those docks. You may recall that we had them scheduled for earlier in the year, and we put them off until when the docks will be removed. The 2019 road program is substantially complete. They are going to be going into their maintenance period. The contractor has our final punch list, and they're working out the last of the sod issues. In terms of the 2020 road program, making pretty good progress in Hedgerow Woods. All drainage improvements are installed. Curbs are done on Gilbert, and the residents have access to their driveways. Curbs are scheduled for Simons over the next 2 weeks. They're still doing under drain, but it's my understanding that the entire, say the left side of the street has access to their driveways. And we're dealing with the residents on a case-by-case basis to make sure that they all have access when they need it. Full court press comes after that for getting the roads under base and moving on to aprons and sidewalks. So project's running relatively smoothly. Had a couple of hiccups during the course of this mobilization, but we feel that we're past most of the difficulties and we should have a pretty good run. Those are my updates. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any questions for Mr. Jones, Mr. Rocco?
No, well done. Thank you.
Mr. Boraski?
No, thanks.
Mr. Palmer?
No, thank you.
Mr. Galloway?
No, none.
And I have none. Is there a motion to accept the engineer's report?
So moved.
Okay.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, before we get to the bill list, we had someone that was on for public comment that somehow didn't get in. Are you still there, Dave?
Yeah, I'll bring them in now.
Okay.
You have Britt in the room now.
All right. Hello, Britt.
Hello, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
Oh,
So, yes, I just only have three things. I just wanted to ask the Board of Supervisors. I'm a resident of Falls Township, and I'm with a local group, Lower Bucks for Change. And we just had a couple of comments and things we just wanted to know where you are and where you stand. So I'd like to know three things. One, the Board of Supervisors and their take on privatization of utilities. There's a large campaign in Norristown, which is opposing the sale of the sewer. And the the Norristown is still choosing to go with the sale of the sewer. And I wanted to know where the Falls Township Board of Supervisors, their take in terms of privatization of utility, and hoping that they would oppose such. The second item would be about the Falls Township Police Department. I'm looking for them to put forward a statement that it has a commitment to racial justice, particularly how the Push Out the Pusher campaigns have disproportionately incarcerated Black and brown people. I'd like to see them follow the example of Ben Salem Police Department, since they recently just hired a social worker, and I think that would be particularly helpful for the police department to consider going forward. I also, for my last thing, want Falls Township to consider rent control for our area. The pandemic is still ongoing. The CDC moratorium only lasts until January the 1st. And if rent control can't be put forward, Falls Township to work to oppose the carrying out of evictions through December 31st of 2021, as we are facing a massive eviction and housing crisis. So thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. I'll start with the first one. No, the outsourcing our water and sewer, TOFA, the Township of Falls Authority, has never been discussed. That's not something that Falls Township is interested in. It's not financially needed for Falls Township. I don't know what goes on in Norristown and such, but no, that's a no to number one. Your second item was the police department putting forward a statement. Just back on our July meeting, Chief Whitney put a whole presentation together, which you can find online, the whole PowerPoint that goes through the training. And this isn't something new to Falls Township. These are policies that have been in place for a long time. So it's not something they just got on board with. And you can find that presentation on our website. What else did you have on there?
Rent control.
No, hold on. She mentioned to push out the pusher. That's something that comes from the county. That's the district attorney's office that does the push out the pusher program. So we don't have any data on that. The Falls Township, if you look at the presentation that Chief Whitney did back in July, you'll see the arrest data, which, for the past 10 years since 2010, it's pretty interesting data. I mean, it doesn't tell you what they've been arrested for. What else do we have? Talk about leading by example. Falls Township does lead by example. We don't need to follow Ben Salem. All Falls Township Police have been working closely for many years, according to Chief Whitney, with the Lenape Valley Mobile Crisis Team, and they get them involved in often if they have an issue needed. We have multiple officers. I think he told me 8 that are trained as emergency medical technicians that work to get the people in crisis the help they need. That's been going on for a long time. That's nothing new to Falls Township. We did apply for a grant through the Bucks County Drug and Alcohol Commission to hire a certified recovery specialist that would actually ride with our police and EMT and connect people struggling with substance abuse and treatment. We hope to get that grant. Lastly was the rent. Yeah, we have no control over rent or stabilization laws. There are none in Pennsylvania, from what our solicitor said. And, our police really can't get involved with landlord-tenant disputes. We never had. So the eviction thing, that was a federal moratorium. That had nothing to do with the township. That's not something that we enforce ourselves. I think are you still here, Britt?
I can bring her back in. 1 second.
Does she have any more questions, or does that cover everything?
She's coming back in.
So that means, sorry, I'm Britt's spouse, Ian. That means the landlords couldn't call police to aid in evictions in Falls Township?
Correct.
That's fine. Okay.
Yes, absolutely not.
That's good to know.
Yeah. I think that covered everything, but like I said, if you go on our website, you'll find the presentation on the.
Mr. Dents, they might have the sheriffs there though. That's
not the township though. That would be on the county's end.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay. So
same with the push out the pusher. That's the county as well. That's not the township.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
The presentation from our July meeting. It's very informative and it covers a lot of what the Falls Police do. If you email Mr. Takeda tomorrow, I'm sure he'd be happy to email you the link, or actually email you the PDF.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is that it then?
We're good.
All right. Have a good night. All right. Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but we're back to them on schedule now. Item number 8 is the bill list. We have bills of $2,424,738.69. Almost $1 million of that's payroll. $1 million of that's health insurance. Any questions or comments on the bill list from board members? Mr. Rocco?
No.
Boraski?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
No.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
All right. Is there a motion to accept the bill list and pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Rocco, can you poll the board, please?
Yes, Mr. Galloway,
Yes.
Mr. Boraski,
Yes.
Mr. Dents,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
I'm a yes.
All right. Mr. Clark, you want to comment on our executive session?
The board held an executive session prior to this meeting to discuss various personnel matters and a matter of potential litigation and barking dogs and whether or not they would be permitted during Zoom meetings.
All right. Thank you. That takes us to item number 10, Police Department report. Chief Whitney is here to give us his report. Chief Whitney, take it away.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay, so we always look back at the month prior. So this is September. 50% of the time in September, we were at minimum staffing, down 2% from August. And then you can see the breakdown from the prior 4 years for the month of September as a comparison. That's the breakdown per squad. You can see Group A days and Group A nights. We're 80% of the time at minimum staffing. Otherwise, we kind of met our goal, which is it hovers around 25%. So the reason we were at min staffing so much was kind of varied. We had an officer out sick. We've got an officer out long-term sick. We have an officer out on modified duty because of an injury for about the last year. We have an officer on administrative leave, and then just kind of random things throughout. So all those things really impact our staffing level. And that's what we monitor every month when we look back at that, try to engage our deployment, make sure that our deployment is as efficient as it can be. That's our review of our goal. We'd like to be at minimum staffing no more than 25% of the time. These are the overdoses for the month of September. So we had 11 overdoses, brings our yearly total to 97. We're still holding in at 5 fatal overdoses for the year thus far. And that's just kind of a look, the last 10 years of the overdose rate. The green is the total, the red is the fatalities. The blue are the fatalities and the red are the non-fatalities. So that's something we're always closely monitoring to try to make sure that we're helping as many people as we can. These are the calls for service for September. 1,522 calls for service. We break them down by patrol sector. We always look at our year to date. At the end of September, we were up to almost 13,000 and a half. We always look at our medical calls. Medical calls are consistently the most frequent call for service. We had 163 in September, brings us up to a little over 1,600 for the year. Traffic crashes, still lower numbers because of the pandemic. I mean, we hate to have any crashes, but we're a little bit up. We've been hovering somewhere between 70 and 80. We're up to 88 for the month. Our year-to-date crashes are 701. We did have one fatal in September. Brings our year-to-date fatal crashes to 3. This is our arrests. Arrests have been fairly consistent. We spiked in July. We had an extremely aggressive program in July. A lot of people got locked up, but we've been hovering between 50 and 60 is pretty average for us.
What is a pending arrest?
A pending arrest is an arrest that's waiting for, in most cases, lab work. So that's probably a drug-related arrest that's waiting for lab results to come back. We can't file the arrest until we get the results back from the lab. That's most of the time, 90% of the time, that's what that is.
Got it. Thank you.
And of course, especially since the pandemic, but even before, we look at our hotels and motels in town. You can see the red roof continues to be our largest issue. We're there as often as we can be. We work with all of our hotels and motels to try to give suggestions to them and work with them to problem solve, and we will continue to do so. And that's our arrest data. We always kind of talk about, how does our arrest data compare to our demographics? Mr. Dents, you made reference to that. That's something that I think is always important to update. By the end of the year, we'll have end-of-year numbers to that. Excited delirium is one of those problems nationwide that is of great concern to law enforcement, particularly since the drug of choice is switching from a depressant to a stimulant. Methamphetamine and cocaine tend to contribute to individuals experiencing excited delirium. What we did is this month we had our officers sign on to a training site called PA Train. It's used for a variety of different first responder services to do training. Our EMTs use it for Con Ed training. This training for the excited delirium protocol actually comes out of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. It's designed for emergency medical technicians, but it's a really good presentation of the topic. It's extremely important for any police officer to recognize what excited delirium looks like and to realize that excited delirium is a medical emergency. This is not something that we can handle, not something someone we want to put in the back of a police car or bring to our cell block. This is an individual that is experiencing a life-threatening medical emergency. They have to be taken by an advanced life service ambulance to a hospital and get in a hospital setting if they have any chance of surviving. It's an extremely dangerous event that metabolically leads to death. So once a person is experiencing excited delirium, they are on a path metabolically where they are going to die, and the only way to save them is to recognize that it's a life-threatening medical emergency and get them to definitive care. We also are involved in a grant with Woman's Place to combat human trafficking. So the grant provides for a 24-hour response to a case manager who will respond. If we have an individual we believe is a victim of human trafficking, this person will respond to headquarters and try to connect that person with treatment. We'll have a policy out on that shortly. The district attorney's office is also working on this countywide. They came up with a video that we put out to all of our officers as a training. It's about a 10-minute video, and it describes what a victim of human trafficking looks like, what factors are present in a case, so that an officer can recognize that and try to get that person help. And Mr. Dents, you also made reference to this grant for a certified recovery specialist. BCDAC is applying for the grant. They contacted us and said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? To be honest, I've been trying to get a CRS and a police car for years. I've just never been successful in doing it. So it's an exciting opportunity to have somebody come on board that can be there when we're saving somebody's life who's struggling with substance abuse and survives an overdose, to connect them with treatment, but also to go to other calls that are drug related so that they can meet people in the field and have that kind of human connection to try to get somebody into treatment. Ben Salem has been doing this for years, and I'll be excited to come on board and be doing that in Falls Township. We're a little different in that we have police EMTs, so we'd like to put that CRS out in a police car with our EMTs. Ben Salem doesn't have that, so they actually have a kind of a relationship with Ben Salem Rescue Squad where they've been doing this. But in our case, we'd like to have the police department spearhead this effort. And that, I apologize for the brevity of the report. But I was at the range this morning, and then I was with Mrs. Biden's detail to make sure that that went smoothly, and it did. So that's my report for this month. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions for Chief Whitney, Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, just one. There does seem to be some movement to have social workers get involved in, I don't want to say policing, but to work side by side with the police. Is that something you considered or would consider?
I'd love to have that. I think that's an invaluable tool to have. I wouldn't put a social worker in a position to respond to a call for service and place them in the situation where they'd be trying to handle that on their own. But if we could craft a way for the township to have a social worker that can assist our community in dealing with the myriad of issues that people deal with in our community, I think that could be nothing but positive. I've seen it work in other towns. There's a myriad of programs that Gloucester Township in New Jersey has, where they have social workers that work with families. They have people that come to their headquarters for counseling and for parenting instruction. We work with as many different social workers as we can because we don't have one, so we outsource. So we work with the social workers at Pennsbury, which have been a great resource for us. We work with Bucks County Children and Youth Services. They've been a great partner for us. And of course, we work with the social workers that work at Lenape Valley Mobile Crisis. They've been fantastic for us. So, I mean, the idea in my view, the idea in Falls Township has been to take a call for service, and instead of documenting that somebody's suffering, which is what we used to do. We're really good at that. We write a report, we document your suffering, we can measure it, we can do a flow chart on it, but we need to do more than that. We need to take that call for service and try to create better outcomes for people. Social workers are what you need to do that. They're incredibly skilled, they're well networked, they're a valuable resource in the community. Social workers are just a fantastic thing. Again, I wouldn't put them in a car going into danger, going to calls for service, but they can do the follow-up work to help a family get the kind of long-term help that they need. Our help is typically short-term. That's why we started outsourcing these programs like, Steps to Recovery. Before it was, the STOP program. Now it'll be a CRS program, and of course, Mobile Crisis. The idea, or even faith-based organizations like AHTN and Fallsington to help with the homeless. The idea is to connect them with somebody who can help them long-term, because we show up, we solve the crisis in the moment, we get things stable, and then we move on. But it's better for the entire community if we can get a long-term solution in play.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe exploring some of that. So thank you.
Mr. Boraski, any questions?
Chief, I don't know how much of this is ongoing, but I was kind of curious if you had any follow-up on the shooting that was on Lincoln Highway, where I believe one of the target might have went to the hospital. Someone was shot in the neck, I believe. A resident had asked, and I just didn't know where that was.
Yes, I had I think I had a slide last month on that. That's that investigation is still ongoing. There have been a number of shootings around the county. There was some concern that they were all interrelated. Some of them appear to be interrelated. We don't believe that our shooting there at North Olds and Lincoln is related to some of the other ones that have taken place in Middletown or Bristol Borough or Bristol Township. But that case is still being investigated.
The person that went to the hospital, did they survive?
They did survive. I don't know what their current condition is. I haven't gotten a report or an update on them in a while, but they did survive.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Galloway, any questions or comments?
No questions. Excellent report, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Palmer? You're muted.
I didn't want you to hear my dog again. I just was going to go to the protective PPE for the police department. How are we with that in case this thing leaps around? Did you stock up on it this time? I see some was in the bill list, but wasn't sure how we're looking for the department.
Well, PPE is one of those things we're looking forward to perhaps the second wave of this pandemic. It's hard to say you ever have enough because you don't know how bad it's going to get, but I can confidently say we're in much better shape than we were when this thing kicked off. We've got a decent supply to keep operations running. Like I said, you can never know that you have enough, but we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. But we're definitely prepared for right now to keep operations. Continuity of operations shouldn't be an issue when it comes to PPE for us.
Good deal.
All right. Thank you. Excellent report, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
All right. And that takes us to item number 11, manager comment. You're up, Mr. Takita.
A few items tonight. The first one is the board is being asked to consider a resolution to extend the guidelines and policies for outdoor sales of food and merchandise for existing businesses in the township during the coronavirus pandemic. This was originally approved back in June. It is resolution number 2020-17. We're asking for it to be extended to through December 31st.
So that would take us to the rest of the year instead of just to October 31st. Makes sense. We've all discussed this prior in an email. Is anyone have any questions about it? No, right?
No, actually, I do have one. So we can regulate the food, but the state regulates the alcohol. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. Do we know what the state's doing with the alcohol?
That I don't know. I can find out though.
I think what happens, Mr. Rocco, is each restaurant that has a liquor license, if they are not permitted to have any service outside of their building, they have to contact the Liquor Control Board to get approval to serve outside. That's why I think in this resolution, and we're always advising the businesses that their insurance, health department issues, and the Liquor Control Board issues are their responsibility. We're just granting them the ability to have things outside where they would normally need zoning or land development relief.
Got it. Okay, cool. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? That's resolution. Is that a resolution, right, Mr. Takita?
Yes, the resolution number is 2020-17. This is just an extension of that previous resolution.
Okay, is there a motion?
I make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Go ahead, Mr. Takita.
The board is being asked to consider the separation agreement and general release for Dave Snyder, between Dave Snyder and the township.
Okay. Any comments or questions about the separation agreement or whatever we're calling this?
No questions.
No questions.
All right, is there a motion then?
I make the motion to approve the agreement.
I'll second it.
All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 None? Okay.
The board is being asked to consider a change order for the South Olds Boulevard replacement project for sub-consultant fees in the amount of $10,097. This fee will cover the costs required for environmental and geotechnical sub-consultant services in support of the culvert replacement design and required permitting. The original proposal did include this number, but the amount that was approved was only for the cost of engineering and survey. It did not include the estimated fees for outside consultants.
And what was the fee again?
It is for, apologize, $10,097.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Takita? Mr. Rocco?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
No.
Mr. Galloway?
No.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
Is there a motion to approve them?
I make the motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Mr. Rocco, can you pull the board?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Thank you. The township is requesting to purchase an additional 12 trees from the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. The township has done similar bare root tree programs in prior years, planting them throughout the township. Over 567 trees have been purchased through the township's Tree Vitalize program. The board is being asked to consider the purchase of 12 trees as part of the Tree Vitalize program for $600.
All right, we've done this over and over. Any questions from Mr. Takita from board members? Mr. Rocco? Everybody's good?
Nope, I'm good.
No questions.
All right, so a motion then for $600 to approve the purchase of 12 trees.
I make the motion to approve the purchase.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Mr. Rocco, can you pull the board?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Thank you. We have 2 new businesses that were approved for operations for the month of September. One of them is 255 Lower Morrisville Road, Yardley Makefield Soccer Incorporated. And the second one is 330 Commerce Boulevard, Spirit Halloween. There is a drug drop-off event Saturday, October 24th from 10 to 2. That's being sponsored by the county. And lastly, we have the Shredder event. The Falls Township Police Department will hold the Great Shredder event on Saturday, October 24th from 9 to 1 in the front parking lot by the police department. This is a free event.
All right. Is that it, Mr. Takita?
Yes.
All right, thank you. That takes us to board comment. Item number 12, Mr. Rocco.
Normally would remind people that there's an election coming up, but I'm pretty sure we all know it. So, also whoever wins, I'm hopeful that it'll just be accepted and people will move on for whatever that is. So, but thank you, Mr. Dents, for running a good meeting tonight. And that's all I have.
Mr. Palmer?
I echo Mr. Rocco, and that's all.
Mr. Galloway?
Just want to wish everyone a great and safe Halloween coming up, and everybody have a good night.
Mr. Boraski?
Just one thing. I know that our Parks and Rec department made a post on social media that Kirby Park has been opened up, but I just want to say it here that the park is now open. The caution tape is down, and the playground can be enjoyed.
All right, thank you. We've gotten some questions, and people keep asking us what are we doing about Halloween? And honestly, we're not doing anything. Just we don't cancel Halloween. That's not something that Falls Township's done. I don't know where that rumor started. I think back during Hurricane Sandy, one time we may have suggested it.
Yeah.
But that's not. Everyone just needs to be safe and use good judgment on Halloween and have fun. That's all I have for tonight. Another good meeting, Zoom meeting again. A few bumps, but we're getting better at it. Someday we'll be back in the meeting room. Until then, motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.